Welcome back. It's still Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. Well, now we're going to swing into the next part of the next topic that we're going to be discussing this morning. And Husseina, take it away.
All right, so today we actually have, joining us on the show, Abdul Rahman Baban Sabo. Shabo or Sabo?
Baban Sabo.
Baban Sabo. All right, he's a researcher, a writer, a photographer, and a travel enthusiast. And he's the founder of Travel Guide Limited. You know, it's a travels and tours, company that specializes in tourism and hospitality. And he made many discoveries of tourist attractions, including natural springs, suspended lakes, waterfalls, ancient caves, and even heritage sites. And he has also discovered many other historic and cultural sites which holds so many rich stories of the north. Especially, it's good to have you here with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Now the bio actually talks about you being very, very adventurous to the extent of discovering new sites, just like we would call you like an Indiana Jones of Nigeria. Now, how has it been? Could you share your experience with us?
Yeah. So, well, for me, it's been transitional, to be honest. The tourism aspect of the work I do became a passion when I started writing about places I visit, I experience and all of that. And then I discovered that, people are more prone to actually visual contents than reading items. So I discovered photography is an art I can actually go into. So I learned photography. From that, I learned the arts of photography, videography, and even I just vested into video content creation. And gradually I started even making documentary films. So for me, talking about the North, to be particular, is more, it's more of something that I have more, passion for than, general tourism, leisure travels. So I usually just do cultural, adventural, and, heritage travels. Yeah.
All right. So, do you predetermine where you're going to go, or you just sit down and say, okay, fine, let me have like a 6-month plan. I'm going to explore this, and this, or you just go on a whim?
Absolutely, I do have plans. First of, I make research on places that have, heritage histories and cultural histories that are very ingrained to the people, and are still perhaps alive, or perhaps they're fading away in some sort of I don't know. So when I get the plans, I contact the people, I find locals there, I try to do a little bit of investigation of the safety, the security, the accessibility, and everything. And when I get to go to meet the people, I first visit once to just familiarize with the environment, and then later on I start going on to do the work. Perhaps by then we've already established a very good familiarity with the people.
Okay, now what would you say is actually the most important skill for one to have when going on explorations, like you do?
Well, the most important skill to be dependent on is human relativity, how to interact with people, how to break the ice, how to talk to locals, especially people that are not so exposed to city life and people from town. So when you go, you meet them, you need to actually bring yourself down, to know how to relate with them, know how to eat their food, communicate to them in a manner that they would actually embrace you, because they feel like you're an alien. Most times you enter a certain locality, their kids run away from you because of the way you're dressed, because of you just seem to be alien to them. So what you need to do, especially, is just to know how to communicate and interact with people. So, and the first things to do usually is know, try to meet the heads of the locality before you actually engage.
All right. So, well, we always say this. I don't know whether we're saying it to feel good about ourselves or something like that. We'll say Nigeria, we're blessed with lovely tourism destinations and all that, and all that's left for us is to harness these things so that we can actually be a magnificent tourist destination. Do we actually have those tourist destinations? Are they as good as we think they are?
Well, do we have them?
Yeah.
Is another question. Are they as good is also another question. So, yeah. Do we have them? Yes, we do. Now, talking about cultural sites or maybe cultures in the north, let me just be particular to the north because this is where I specialize on. We have a lot of festivities happening in the north. You know, there's a lot of tribes that do you know, organize their cultural festivals annually, and you know, people do come. People come from different parts of the world and to know, you know, to witness these events. And particularly, I have this particular tribe that in Bauchi, they have this history to have, you know, stayed for like some centuries on a mountain there in Bauchi. It's called the Buli Mountain. It's a very huge mountain, and it's historic to the people of Bauchi, and it's historic to the people. So when the north was colonized, and you know, Bauchi was part of the colony, though, so it became part of the government. Then the people were asked to come down to this, so they descended, and then a school was built for them there. So they refused to leave, you know, the environs of that particular mountain. They still are there. So there's this history they have about a certain cave on that particular mountain, and there is one European that came, and it's a myth for me because I've not actually factualized the stories. But this European went to explore this cave, and he never came out.
Okay.
He never came out. So they told me that in recent times, like his family used to visit for like memorial or something like that. But yeah, it's amazing. You go, you can, you know, access the cave if you want to. I've never tried, but I've been to the mouth of the cave, and I've documented the environment. Yeah, and there is this there is a particular tree on that particular mountain that gives you, they call it Dafara. I don't know if it has any English name, but yeah, the Dafara tree gives you water during the summer when it's, you know, very sunny and parchy. You know, you cut a branch and then very pure water, and you know, you just drink and it quenches the thirst. So they have that history.
All right, so how do you handle the risks involved, you know, in your explorations? Because I know it can be quite scary, especially visiting places that you've never been or never even knew existed. Yeah,
so I start by investigating, to be honest. I contact people, perhaps if I have a friend or a friend of a friend that has a connection with the particular environment that I had about. I try to identify someone that I know that has, so you connect me with somebody, a local there. So I make investigation, certain inquiries, and yeah, the risk is, if you're adventurous, sometimes you just have to take the risk of, okay, I have to go and see this place, especially if it's worth telling about or talking about or seeing. There is a town in Yobe. I don't know if you've heard about Machina. Machina local government. They have a very ancient history of, you know, of mythologies that are surrounding them. You know, there are rocks, mountains surrounding them that has certain histories. A rock that is drum-like. You beat the rock, and then it makes an echo sound, and everywhere, you know, the sound travels. And they have this history of snakes all over. That even the royal palace, the traditional home, has a family relation with the snake or something like that.
Okay.
And so when I was going to that place, I was talking to a friend, and then he said he knows someone that has that is even related to the royal home there. So I just connected with the guy. The guy had me access to everything. So when I went, it was very hospitable. The people, accommodated me, and it was warm. So yeah, the story of Machina is very interesting, and I think people should actually explore it. Yeah.
All right. So talking about exploring new places and the rest of it, most of these places are actually located in very tough terrain. Just like you mentioned, the place in Bauchi, and it's a rocky, hilly mountain. Most of these places are in forests, so to speak, and you actually travel and you go there. How do you mitigate those risks of the terrain? How do you handle that?
Well, I think first off, you have to be fit for the task. Because for me, when I go to certain places that you mentioned to actually work on documentaries especially, I usually take friends that I know are more skilled in hiking, in all these adventurous activities, than just people that know how to handle camera. Because if I believe as a photographer, since I can actually, organize everything and set the camera, I can have you just do the work for me, So if you cannot reach the point where I want you to reach, there is no essence of going with you in the first place. So I go with people that have the skill, but I understand in essence what you're trying to ask is trying to access places like this. This is where I think the government have failed the tourism industry in Nigeria. To be precise, the government has not done anything in total to improve or to develop the tourism sector, because most of the tourist attractions in Nigeria that are worthwhile, that are worth to see, the government has allowed the place to either dilapidate or not actually develop the access roads or not done any publicity to it. They do not do anything. And that is a huge challenge for people, young people like myself, that are into the tourism industry. Because if you are if you run any kind of tourist company in Nigeria, you know that you have to do everything by yourself from the scratch to the last point. So beginning from how to access these places, how to communicate with the people, how to discover the things, and even how to publicize. Yeah, so like for instance now, there is this wildlife park in Bauchi. I know you must have heard about Yankari, but forget about Yankari. There is Sumu Wildlife Park. It was established somewhere in, I think, around 2002, 2003, by Governor Muazu Azad then. He had animals, giraffes, zebras, antelopes, wild beasts, imported all the way from Namibia. And then he established this wildlife park. It's a 12 square kilometer wildlife park. And then he kept them there to breed. So when they breed enough, they can be maybe relocated to Yankari and maybe shared to other parks. But then this current administration that we have right now, this is a 12 square kilometer. The last time I visited, I discovered that they were taking out these animals. Perhaps they're selling them or so. And when I inquired why, they said that the agreement between the Bauchi state government and the Namibian government was that if these animals breed, when they're just too much, they start taking them out to other parks. And when I asked, okay, where are these particular animals being taken to? They mentioned Obasanjo's Ota Farm, Bamanga Tukur, and it was just political. I was like, why? This is just, killing Bauchi State, and this is just a 12 square kilometer wildlife park that you can't, sometimes you would go, you would walk, or you use the car to do safari, but you would not see the animals. And then
You could say the animals aren't there
Yeah.
no, the animals are there, but you know, it's not like they're not too populated to be seen.
they're too
easily.
sparse. Yes.
So why are you even taking them out in the first place? You don't even have them enough in Bauchi to begin taking them out.
Okay, now, can you tell us, you know, the most interesting place you've visited and the most interesting people you've actually come across?
Yeah. So one of the most interesting places that I've been to is the Gobaro Minaret in Katsina. Particularly, one of the most interesting places in Nigeria that I've visited is the Katsina State, and I'll tell you why. The Gobaro Minaret is a minaret it's a monument right now. It's a national monument, and it's been there for almost 700 years, 673 if I'm not mistaken, years, and it's been standing since then. And that particular minaret served as a part of a mosque that was built then, and that mosque was a part of a school or college that has been there for those centuries. And when I discovered the place, I was asking myself, so does that mean for the past about 800 years, you know, people in Katsina were having a conventional schooling system?
Exactly.
So it's where, I don't know if you've heard about Muhammad al-Katsinawi. He is well known. So when I started researching about the Gobaro, I discovered Muhammad al-Katsinawi, someone that the Katsinawa call Walid al-Marina.
Okay.
And I discovered that this man was a scholar that is very, you know, renowned in Europe. He's an astrologer, he's a mathematician, a scientist, and an Islamic scholar. And he was groomed and educated in that particular vicinity.
Okay.
The Gobaro Minaret still stands. And also...
Is the school still there?
No, the school has... the only thing standing is the minaret.
The minaret. The mosque and the school
yeah,
are no longer.
it's no longer there. But, you know, when you access the minaret, you can see all around Katsina still. It used to be the tallest building in Katsina as at then. Yeah, and there's this very village that I visited and documented. It's called Durban Takushi. And that Durban Takushi has a lot of histories. It's where archaeologists excavated a lot of artifacts. Some coins, money system, like a lot of metals that, you know, gave evidence that there was a huge civilization that was established in that very Durban Takushi. And the Katsinawa, you know, a part of the Malawa were fighting around those empires to gain power. And when you go to the museum, the artifacts are still there in Katsina. The old Bariwa College, which is now turned to the Katsina State Museum. So Katsina, yes, and there's this guy. Is a 2-3 century old architect, or rather master builder, Muhammadu Durugu, and he's went round the north to build monuments. Right now there are 2 monuments in Bauchi that he built. One in Kafi Maraki, and one is the current Bauchi Emir's Palace.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Babangoni. It's his nickname. So he was given the name Babangoni because of his mastery in architecture and building structures. So these monuments are built in such a way that they're traditional modded buildings. But when you go, you discover that there are a lot of things that have to do with the environment, the climate, everything that befits the people, the culture of the people. And this man traveled, you know, around states. He built the Zaria Central Mosque and a part of the palace in Zaria. He built the palace in Birningwari and the mosque, which are still standing. He has buildings in Maiduguri, and so these are very interesting places that I've discovered, because I'm more keen to history and heritage.
Okay.
So these are my, you know,
All right,
points
so
of
when you
interest.
go to these places and you document all these facts, what do you do with them? You make these documentaries and do you show them? Do you sell them? What do you do?
Yes, so I've never sold them and I didn't publish any yet.
Okay.
And the reasons is because I want to monetize.
Okay.
So and monetizing contents like these need solid, how do I say, network, or perhaps, you know, to establish good contact with the people that are buying.
Okay.
So for me, I've not yet, you know, one thing I did, I know for sure, is I partnered with a certain company, Penriza. It's a TV PR company that, you know, I partnered with to do a certain documentary of the North. They did a documentary on Nigeria for CNBC Africa. But I partnered with them to do a documentary of Bauchi, Kaduna, and Kano.
Okay.
And these, but because it's their own work, and I only partnered, and then, yeah. So, but I didn't re-establish the contacts to see if they would be interested in that too. So, yeah, I'm working on that. It's a work in progress, but yeah, God willing, anytime soon.
Okay. Now, as someone who actually travels a lot, if you're to advise, you know, someone who wants to travel to places like that, what are the most important items to actually carry along? And is it advisable for one to travel alone to such places?
Okay, so let me start with the important items. You know, there are categories of travelers. There are travelers that are adrenaline junkies, so they're basically adventurous like myself. So you don't need much as an adrenaline junkie. All you need is your boots, you know, sunglasses, pickup, perhaps, you know, and then a backpack. That's all. You're good. But there are people that are leisure travelers that all they want to do is actually just go on a vacation and, you know, relax. And yeah, for those, I really don't know much, but you need everything that would, you know, help you chillax, you know, do whatever. Particularly for storytellers, you need a camera. If you don't have one, you need a very good phone that has a good camera. Because you need to tell stories. Even if you don't tell stories, you need to actually document the moment for yourself, just for memory's sake. And yeah, I think traveling alone is very safe, particularly if I'll talk about the Northeast, because I have a good, because I run a travels company, I have a good rapport with the security authorities. So I usually, when I have people coming, regardless of wherever they're coming from, I usually keep contacts with the DSS and police to see if there is any incidences around the places that we are planning to visit. And then if I get a green, then I go with fine. So traveling alone, a lot of people that I've hosted came alone. You know, I hosted few groups that came in groups. So people can travel alone to the Northeast without any scare, to be honest. Bauchi to Jos, I've never heard any incidents on the road. Bauchi to Yobe, to Maiduguri, Bauchi to Adamawa, Bauchi to Kano, none whatsoever on the road. But Northwest, there are certain roads that are a no-go even for me. I don't advise anybody to actually, but you can actually do your investigation if you're interested to travel around those places.
All right. So that is quite interesting. So for how long have you been doing this?
Okay, just before, you know, you answer his question, there's some pictures being displayed, you know, on the screen right now. Can you tell us about this particular place?
Okay, so this is a particular a stream that I discovered. It's in Bobindi in Bauchi. I called it the Eighth Wonder. Yeah, it's a stream. It's a rocky place that has, you know, a stream running in between these rocks that you're seeing, and on top of these rocks there are some little holes that looks like wells or something like that. And yeah, the place is just so beautiful and miraculous, and the stream is just so amazing. It's a very good tourist destination for people that would love to visit. I particularly
it doesn't have
want
a name?
The locals there call it Mashayar Buka.
Okay. Can you translate in English?
I think it's how should I?
Ibrahim,
The drinking place of the witch doctor.
Mashallah.
I mean that's the best.
Or rather, the witch's shrine.
The
or
witch,
something like
yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, like that's Mashayar Buka.
Yeah,
That's
so
where the witch,
that's what the
where the
locals
witch
there
doctor
call
goes
it.
to drink.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, this is a particular waterfall I discovered in Bauchi. I actually discovered 3 waterfalls in Bauchi alone, and they're amazing. 2 of them are all year round, and 1 is seasonal. And there's also a suspended lake that I discovered in Bauchi.
Wow.
Currently, it said there are only 3 world-known suspended lakes, but I discovered one in Bauchi, and it's all year round. It's there in along Sumu Wildlife Park, to be honest, and it's very beautiful, but it's a very hectic hiking. Yeah.
So is there, you said earlier when we were talking about tourism and the rest of it, and tourist sites and tourist attractions, you said the government hasn't been doing enough, or hasn't even done enough, or nothing at all when it comes to harnessing these potentials. Do you have any plans of maybe collaborating with the government in order to make sure that these things are actually brought to the limelight?
The government Nigerian government to be precise, has a way of crippling your efforts, no matter how much you try. So even people that are staffs of the NTDC, that's the National Tourism Development Corporation or something. Yeah, they complain a lot about the government's lack of interest in developing all these things. So sometimes, or most times, they're banking on people like myself when it comes to any tourist activity that they're trying to do. So if I tell you that I even wish to collaborate with the government, especially the state government, I am lying. Because I've given myself, I've submitted different proposals for past administration and Bauchi state government to actually consider developing some things. Not actually do anything for me, but developing some things like the Yankari Now Game Reserve, which so the Yankari has a lot of potentials that can attract, that can make Bauchi alone a tourist hub of West Africa. But the government is doing nothing about it. Yankari has a 2,000-year-old iron smelting ore, which is said to be the oldest iron smelting ore in West Africa. And they discovered this ancient caves. They call it Marshall Caves, and it has a lot of archaeological imprint in it, where the archaeologists that discovered it talked a lot about it. But even if you go to Yankari right now, you go to their museum, it's only a brief they will brief for you, and I feel like these people don't want to allow the place to even grow, because people come with high enthusiasm and they want to go for the safari, and then the safari cars are broken. They have only 1 or 2 cars available, and even the 2 cars cannot go far, and they can't stay long because there are a lot of clients waiting for the car to come back. So you go, they don't take you to all these sites. There are the Duque wells, of course. So it's not only Wiki Warm Spring. There is a spring in Yankari. We have like 5 different warm springs in Yankari that are all year round, and they're gushing. But the only one that has been developed up till date is the Wiki Warm Spring, which is where the resort was built around. And I think they need to do more to actually develop the place. So yeah, the government is always a hindrance when it comes to
Well,
your efforts.
Well, that was quite an interesting, segment. I actually learned a lot, and
Thank you so much.
what my takeaway is, the fact that even in Nigeria alone, there are lots of places that one can actually visit if you want to go for a vacation, or you want to just explore. But lack of documentation, is another factor, another reason why a lot of people don't even know about these places. And, with the help of people like you, would actually get to discover some of these places.
Absolutely. I think lack of documentation, insecurity, and even lack of patriotism by the people themselves. Because the citizens themselves prefer to, unless nowadays that most youth that are middle class, prefer to just, maybe hang around Nigeria and explore the places. I think most people traveling, they feel like it's rather better to just travel out and go and see the same things that you have in just your backyard.
Because they're better packaged.
And when it comes to in Nigeria, you don't even need to be so rich to be able to, go to these places.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Abdulrahman Babansebo, for joining us today on, Daybreak Extra. It was an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. The pleasure's mine.
All right. So with this, we've come to the end of Daybreak Extra for today. But, do not fret. We'll be back again next week, same time, same station, only on Trust Television. I'm Dasha and Husseina Osman. Thank you so much for watching.
So it's been a wonderful ride on the Daybreak Extra this beautiful morning. Just like you said, join us again next week as we get set to do it all over again. I am Ibrahim Yusuf.